Everyone, it's Epic Underworlds. In this video, I'll be giving you guys a really good guide on how to make a rule set for your homemade trading card games. I've done videos on how to make your own card games in the past, but this will be one developing the core system on how your game will play. Pretty much every game in this box I have developed using this system with a few tweaks here and there, so it's a really solid system that works for developing unique and powerful game skeletons. So I don't know about you guys, but I usually have to start with some sort of visual, and then I plan everything based off that. You should get a piece of paper and treat this like the canvas to your game. You can always make revisions later, but let's start off with a simple square. So the reason I'm starting with a square is because this is where play field for the cards will be. And there's always a few common tropes for card games. You usually have a deck. That's where players basically build a deck of their cards and have that in play, and a discard pile, which is where you put your used cards from your deck. Now, the rest of this area, you're probably going to add some zones. There's so many different things you could do, but for example, here's one thing you could do. You could do different biome zones, like there's a jungle zone, a desert zone, and a lava zone, and you can only play those types of cards there. And then there's like some sort of buffer or environment card that affects those zones. So those are like your spell cards. You can also have creature zones where you can only play creatures there. You can only play spells there. And you don't have to have just creatures and spells. Make sure you write down on the side card types. These can be your resource cards, how you can actually play the cards, your creature cards, your actions, your spells, your leaders. There's a lot of different types you can add. These are just the basics. Also, during this time, I usually write down what the win condition is going to be. And the win condition really is up to you. You can make it like destroy all of your opponent's leader cards, or attack directly, so 20 times or 30 times, and you win the game, or gain this many resources before your opponent does, or fill your board with this many cards before your opponent does. A good way is to also look at video games or other board games to get inspiration. Try to tie those mechanics somehow into the card game format. That's often a really good way. For example, I play a game called Heroescape where you build your army based on points, and one time instead of resources, I had the whole deck of cards where each creature had a point cost, and you build your deck based on points, and that's how it's balanced. So choose some sort of balancing system, whether it's resource cards, like in Pokemon, it's energy where you attach energy cards. In Magic, it's lands where you tap lands. You can even have the creature cards be your resources, like sacrifice your own cards to play your cards. That's another way. Cards don't have to just be for one purpose. They can be multi-purpose. Maybe you can play some and plant others. Like if you're doing a farm style game, plant others to gain resources. So that's another way. Okay, so we have our fundamentals. We have the deck, the discard pile, and then your zones that you'll develop, card types, and win condition. Now let's get into your extra cards. I always like to have some sort of main card in my game, whether it's my leader, which gives all my other cards abilities. I build the deck around it. Maybe it's that card gives you resources. Then when you have that main card, I usually add something to the side. This is optional. You can add maybe a little market where each player brings 2 market cards, and anyone can use their resources to buy those power-ups. Or maybe there's like a conveyor belt deck where a card goes, just a random card from a random deck goes into these zones, and you can purchase them, or you can maybe fight against them. It's up to you. So you can add little fun mechanics like that. Then like a few side tips. If you want to have combat in your game, I recommend having 1 power stat. You can do 2, but that's pretty traditional. 1 power stat's really good because then you don't have to worry about attack or defense. It's just 1 power stat. And then you can also add dice to your game if you want to add that for combat. If you want to just add it for different mechanics, you can have other creatures do combined attacks. Like, can one creature attack another? Can 2 creatures attack 1 creature? You got to think about that. And does life and power reset? Maybe make a turn sequence, like a start phase, a main phase, an end phase. Another really good tip is having a key term bank, because I've made a lot of card games and people always ask me what's the difference between when a card is killed and when a card is discarded. Make sure that you have keywords to define these. Like in my game, a card can only be discarded from the hand or from the deck, and a card can only be killed when it's in play. So make sure to make those little differences when you actually start making your cards. Another fun thing to structure your version of your game is to come up with a theme. For example, if you like the theme of dreams, you could make the game somehow connect. Like maybe the deck would be called the subconscious, or instead of when a card is killed, they're forgotten, stuff like that. So now that you've basically planned out how your game looks from a top down angle, you can go in and explain all these steps in more detail. And then you can start crafting playtest cards, which are cards you don't spend as much time on the art wise, unlike these, you just make quick ones and then play maybe a game or two with your friend, or use untap.in. I have a video on how to put your game on that, so you can play test your game, and if it doesn't work, you can always go back to this drawing board and change it. I'm actually going to give you guys some personal examples of games I've designed that I have in my TCG binder. This is a basic rule set I made. These were some key terms. These were some templates I sketched out, a tapping mechanic I was working on, what the play field would look like, explaining some of the things. These were some more templates I was working on. This was me planning the abilities of the cards for the first set. Again, drafting tons of more templates. I want my cards to actually look cool functionally and aesthetically. Doing some little logo designs for card types, because if you want to do card types, it's cool to have really good logos. And then making the first batch of playtest cards, where I would take a picture, upload it to untap.in, and then play with an actual digital deck. Or of course, you could print a bunch of copies of these and play with your friends. So that was a guide on how to plan a rule set for your game. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I'm a bit busy right now. Sorry for not uploading in a while, but I just really want to get this video out. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.